We're rolling. How you doing today, Miranda?
I'm good. How are you?
What was that laugh?
I don't know. I think I laugh when I get nervous. I do the same like on roller coasters. You know, you'll be on a roller coaster and I'm just laughing instead of screaming.
And people are like, "Why are you laughing? What's so funny?"
I'm like, it's not funny. I'm scared. I'm not scared though. I'm just a little nervous.
At least you don't like pee yourself or something.
Nope, I do not pee myself. I mean, maybe if like a good jump scare got at me. You know, some of those roller coasters where they have like the stop and they do like a whole scene. And it's
like in a tunnel?
Yeah, and they're like playing out the scene and then it shoots you backwards or something. That could almost get me.
What is the most scariest roller coaster that you've been on?
So it was at Six Flags St. Louis. And I think it's called like the Batman or like the Batman ride. But so you go in and you start backwards and you go on the whole track backwards.
Oh my gosh.
And so the thing is that it's Batman versus Mr. Freeze. So it's like an ice cream factory and that whole thing. So it's really cold and it's got like Mr. Freeze cackling at you the whole time. And then you stop in a tunnel and Mr. Freeze does his whole thing and the screen comes down and then it shoots you backwards all the way back to the front. And it is absolutely terrifying because the whole time Batman's like, gotta go. And he's doing the Batman thing while you're on the roller coaster. But all you can hear is Mr. Freeze like chasing you and coming closer. I only rode it one time and I didn't do it again.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Did you hear about that amusement park that they're putting in Ohio? It's supposed to be bigger than Cedar Point and like a bunch of other parks combined.
I did hear about like a new amusement park. I didn't see where, but it's going to be like Netflix land essentially. And it will be based off like streaming TV shows and like limited series and stuff. And it'll essentially be like, you can go through the Grey's Anatomy ride and like these weird like experiences that'll be less ride, more animatronics. But I did hear about that.
Interesting. And is that supposed to be in the Midwest too?
I didn't see where it was supposed to be, but I was just thinking like, how will this be interesting? It sounds like more of a museum than like an amusement park, like a wax museum almost.
Have you wax museums are the weirdest things ever.
I have only seen wax figures at Ripley's, believe it or not.
Yes.
That's the only place I've ever
seen. Was it
seen.
Niagara Falls?
No, it was in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, okay. So we went to one in Niagara Falls. And I thought it was kind of interesting because they had a Bill Clinton, and then Monica Lewinsky, but no Hillary Clinton was anywhere near.
They left out Hillary.
They left out Hillary.
Bless her heart.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. So you reached out to me. You wanted to do the podcast.
Yeah. And I totally found you on a whim.
How did you find me?
I Googled you.
You Googled me?
I Googled you.
So how did you hear about me?
I Googled Lansing podcasts.
Really?
And I was literally just looking for a local guy. And it wasn't even like, I want to be on a podcast. It was more like, who can I help in Lansing? What can I do to help? And can they help me? You know? And then I looked through some of your podcasts and I looked at a couple things on YouTube and Spotify. And I was like, I actually think I might want to try and be on this. I think that I fit the demographic. So yeah, I just reached out to you in your little contact form. And then you hit me back and I remember I was at work and I was like, everybody, I got invited to be on a podcast. I mean, I invited myself, but I'm getting invited.
Oh, that's hilarious. See, what was interesting about that was because I just put something out on the Lansing 517 page and like, you know, something about like, hey, here's my website. If you want to apply to be on the podcast, this is how you do it. Mm-hmm. And then I had a bunch of people respond. And then you responded like amongst those people. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't even get a chance to respond for like weeks.
Yeah. And I figured like, oh my gosh, this guy is so popular.
Something like that. It is kind of interesting because when I started this podcast, it was very difficult to find guests. Mm-hmm. Really difficult. Especially because like I didn't really have any credibility. Nobody really knew who I was. And I'm like, you have to come to my house to do it. And they're like, I don't know.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Like, I'm pretty sure I had like one or two people be like, no, I'm okay then. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up getting a couple people. But then I ended up putting a post out on the 517 page. I was getting laid off from work, and I'm like, I want to do a bunch of podcasts. And so I put a post up, and then from that point, I had like one person reach out, and then a bunch of people reached out. And then ever since that point, over 2 years ago,
Oh, wow.
I've been busy.
And that's awesome, though.
It is awesome. It's been like a reoccurring thing.
And I'm sure you've like built this up and seen it go from like, this is just a room to now this is the stew. This is where I'm at. This is my workspace. Don't bother me when I'm in here.
Yes,
you know?
that's exactly what it is.
You need like the on air sign.
I do.
Out there.
I do. Everybody tells me that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun. We had one when I was in high school, and we used it at any opportunity we could. Oh, on air.
So have you always kind of been into media?
Yeah, so I actually was offered an internship in broadcasting when I graduated high school by Bristol Broadcasting in Kentucky. Unfortunately, it was a free internship. Sorry, Bristol. So I couldn't take it because I wanted to move. And so I was like, well, I can't be a broke college student and also be getting paid nothing.
Just doesn't work.
Yeah, but I've competed in broadcast. I competed in radio broadcast for a little over 4 years. And then I also did journalism. During that time, I was editor-in-chief of my school paper and continued that through.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school in Kentucky. So big surprise to everybody. They're like, where's your Southern accent? I promise it's there. I hide it.
When you drink a little.
Yeah, that whiskey accent. No, I hide it. So that was a big thing I learned in broadcasting was that in order to get a job anywhere I wanted, essentially, I needed to speak without an accent so that I could be comfortable to the people that were listening to me, you know, because
Can you say something with the accent?
Yeah, if you give me a minute, I can just kind of come into it a little bit.
Okay.
And before y'all know it, I'll just be talking and it'll get a little bit faster and a little bit thicker and you'll be like, oh my goodness, is she from Texas or what? No, just Kentucky. We just got that chicken, that sweet tea, you know, things like that. It gets really bad when I get like really upset or really excited and then it starts to come out like that and you're like, oh, she's from Kentucky.
So is that something you have to actively try to focus on when you're talking?
Not as much anymore. When I first moved up here for college in 2014, I definitely would do it because people would be like, y'all, and, you know, would like point it out. And so I was like, okay.
That's kind of rude, right?
I'm tired of being like the token Southern person and everybody just being like, oh, she knows about food, you know, or like random things that I was like, why is this the stereotype for Southern folks?
Food?
Yeah, food, sweet tea, Jesus, big hair, gossiping.
Accents are some of the most interesting thing because it doesn't, I mean, obviously you could be from the same country and then talk completely different than other people in the country. I was talking to somebody the other day about a lady who worked for Fox 47, and she was from Germany, and she had this German accent, and she hated it. She did the podcast, and she's like, I hate my, I can't even talk how she talks, but she's like, I hate my accent. And I'm like, it's awesome. I love the accent.
Right. But people pick on you for it.
I'm sure.
And it becomes like your personality almost. And so when people go to explain, they'll be like, oh, Miranda, you know, she's that little Southern girl. And I just didn't want to be that anymore. So I just decided to cover it up more and make more of an effort. And half the time, if I don't say I'm from Kentucky, nobody would be any wiser.
I would have never guessed.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so crazy that you're able to just change the way you talk.
Yeah, and kudos to Mr. Heisner in Graves County, because he was the one that helped me, and he was the one that suggested I watch more videos on the accent and just try to speak more without it, and to watch a lot of early documentaries on the transatlantic accent, which was created to make people feel more comfortable when, like, big liners and like flying was becoming more popular. People spoke with that transatlantic, which is kind of like the, you know, I'm going to go check it out, see, and I've got to do it right now. And it was like this way where you couldn't tell where they were from. They spoke like this. And so it was a little bit different. And it made people more comfortable because they couldn't pinpoint where you were from. And after like the world wars and things, people were a little edgy about where people were coming from.
Right.
So yeah, he was just like, if you want to make it in broadcasting, be able to speak like you're from anywhere.
That's one thing that's interesting too about broadcasting, like news anchors, is they have a certain way of talking, and especially the women.
Yes.
I'm like, why are you talking that way?
We are told to talk that way.
Why?
Yeah.
It's so fake.
Yep.
It sounds so bad.
I like some of the younger folks that are coming out, more my age and even in, like 21. And you've got these new like meteorologists and sports announcers coming out that are comfortable. And they're not being like, tonight on the 6 o'clock news. And they're just very formal and stiff with you. And it's like, I can tell you're reading the script.
Right.
I like it when they have a little bit more of a vibe to their voice. And it just feels a little bit more like jaunty almost, And I do see that with some of the younger broadcasters and announcers. And I do hear it on the radio more now, too. People on the radio aren't trying to be so stiff and formal. It's a lot more fun. And it doesn't have to be fun is only reserved for morning and night talk shows. It can just be fun to listen to. Do
you think like podcasts have kind of influenced that a little bit?
Most definitely.
Because like I feel like that's probably the most the most genuine form of media content right now is podcasts, where somebody could just sit down, have a conversation, and not even worry about what the audience thinks of them.
Yeah, and I think I think Vice was the one that I always remember coming out in the beginning with podcasts, and I remember listening to a lot of Vice podcasts and being like, oh my gosh, this isn't just the BBC, this is actually cool listening. They're having a conversation with folks, and it was an interview. I remember the first one I listened to, it was an interview with Jay-Z. And it's like a podcast style, and she's just talking to Jay-Z like he's a normal person. And I'm like, holy crap, I don't think I've ever heard Jay-Z talk like this. And I'm a big hip-hop fan, so to hear somebody sound so real, and I'm like, oh, this is radio now. We're getting there. Like, this is cool. And I mean, that was in like 2012 when I first heard that. And I've just heard it get better and better and better to where now people have like the On the Streets podcast where they're just walking up and having conversations with folks. And it is some of the most engaging and interesting stuff I've ever heard.
I think I think people just long for that, really. People want to know what other people's lives are like and just not even worry about the like scripted, like the scription, like the scripted aspect of a show.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, we're nosy. We're people.
Yeah,
we're human.
Yeah.
What did I say? We're known for gossiping. Everybody likes a little gossip. You can't look me in my eye and tell me you ain't gossiped at least once. But I do think we are curious. We are, human nature is curiosity. And even that nitty gritty stuff, that true crime. True crime is probably the number one podcast, like, what is that, a genre?
Genre.
Yeah. That is probably the number one in podcasts, is somebody does a true crime podcast. And even the ones that are one-offs, that are just covering one, like Elizabeth Smart, just this one podcast on Elizabeth Smart, it gets millions and millions and millions of plays, because we're curious. We want to know, even though it's sad and it makes us feel icky and look over our shoulders, we're going to listen to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's enticing.
I've listened to podcasts of people that I do not care for, but I'm too curious to not know what's going on.
Right. I mean, it's one of the best ways to be informed, even if you don't agree with somebody. Like, I mean, if you were to like sit down and listen to Trump on a podcast, who like a lot of people don't like, he's so divisive and people don't like the way he talks, but people would listen because they're like, what does he have to say?
I say the same thing about Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan gets a lot of flack for his podcast. I gotta say, he's doing it right. Joe Rogan lets anybody come on. He lets them have their piece. He interjects with good questions and keeps the flow of a conversation going. And at the end of the podcast, you know something about that person you didn't know before. And maybe now you can have a little bit more of an educated opinion on that person.
Right.
Which I also think is good. And that's another good thing about podcasts is while there are a lot of people that just blast that information out there and they're like, I know it because I heard it, at least they know it.
Right,
and at least there are more facts going out there, and podcasts themselves are fact checkers. I mean, you have podcast people, especially in like true crime, that are essentially detectives.
Yeah.
They're going out and putting together these pieces and figuring things out. I mean, I know we've all heard those stories of podcasts and YouTubers helping law enforcement figure these things out.
There was a podcast series that I listened to. It was some lady who went missing on a college campus, like in the 90s, in California, and some journalist from it was a bigger podcast. It was like it wasn't like an NPR, but it was like one of the bigger networks. They have a podcast, and they covered the story. And because of that story, they reopened the case and they found the killer.
Yeah,
And they arrested him.
That stuff's crazy.
Like a year ago.
Yeah, and one of my favorite folks, Kendall Ray, she's on YouTube. She does true crime. She's done it for years, and she will put the information to contact the people that are on that case, and essentially gets people to badger them so much that they will reopen cases or release pertinent information to the public that needs to be out there. And this is just one woman. You know, I mean, now she has a social media team and, you know, a whole team that helps her. But when she started, that was just one lady and a camera, you know, just doing her best and trying to help these people out there that were reaching out to her. Like, please put me on your channel, you know, and I think you're going to continue to get that too. You're going to, as more and more people see how open and kind you are and how genuine the experience is, you're going to have these small businesses that start up that be like, I have to be on this podcast. This is the way to get my voice out to Michigan. This is my way to hit the greater Lansing region.
Right.
I definitely foresee that.
Yeah, I mean, it's... yeah, I don't know. I don't have nothing to say to that.
Smile. Just smile, nod.
You put the attention on me, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I know, I'm reversing it. This is my podcast now.
Have you ever thought about doing a podcast?
Oh my gosh. People tell me all the time I need to be, you know, doing like talk, be on the radio still, write something. I get a lot of requests. I used to be a Twitch streamer. You know, so I was pretty good at that. I was an affiliate.
It's like video games?
I did. I actually read to people.
Okay.
I did play some video games
What
to
would you
break
read?
it up. I would let them pick. So the last book I read was during 2020, height of the pandemic, and they asked me to read The Stand by Stephen King, which was very on the nose at the time. But I did, and it actually made a lot of people feel more comfortable about the scary situation that we were in.
Wow.
I would have people tuning in from all over the world that were just, you know, I would do it later in the evening and read until like 11 or midnight. A lot of people fell asleep with me.
Wow.
You know, they were lonely. They were locked up in their house. They were just scared. And to just have somebody reading this book that is fiction, it sounds a lot like what's going on, but it's still fiction. It's not real.
Yeah.
I think that just helped ground some folks. But I did that and I really enjoyed it, but work got the best of me. And it's a lot. It's a full-time job to be a streamer, a podcaster, anything.
Yeah.
You know, you're putting it in at least 30 hours a week, just editing, working on things, engaging with people, having social media, engaging with those folks, having a Discord, engaging with your more intimate followers on the Discord. It just got to be a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you foresee yourself ever starting it back up, or?
I've definitely thought about it again.
Yeah.
I have. I miss reading to people. I love to read. I've read over 75 books this year already.
So wow. Well, you're putting me to shame. I like to read too, but I read a lot of like self-help and motivational, inspirational stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like to listen to a lot of motivational things, like while I'm getting ready for something or whatever.
Like what?
I do listen to Joe Rogan. He's got some really good, like just short 30-second clips, and they are just inspiring to me. You know, it's like, just get up, get moving. Don't let somebody be the reason you stop for the day. Don't let a frown, turn it all upside down. Like, those things sound silly, but when you're hearing them while you're getting ready and prepping yourself to start your whole day, it can make a world of difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Lisa Fisher here in Lansing,
Mm-hmm.
she gives out lots of awesome tips as well, helps me, managing that work-life balance. That's something she talks about a lot, and she's brought up a few different times, and I have definitely had to stop, think about it, and let things level and say, okay, this is work, this is life, let's be okay.
Yeah. That balance is extremely important. You can get so consumed with work.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and bringing it home.
Oh my gosh.
And, when your work is still at home, so, I leave Extend Your Reach, and then I come home to Marshland Studios. There is still work to be done. And it's having to divvy up time and say, I'm only going to dedicate Monday and Wednesday evenings to this. And Tuesdays is going to be family night. And I'm going to try and invite my ma over, or, reach out to one of my siblings. Did I talk to my cousins this month? Have I done something with my in-laws? And Fridays are going to be fun. They're for me. They're cleansing days. I'm going to turn off the electronics. I'm going to pick out a good book. I'm going to, have a good coffee, things like that. Like I really just have to write notes and remind myself and look at my schedule and say, okay, take a break. you haven't done this week. You need to dedicate some time to that. Or when I feel work being all consuming and I'm like, holy crap, I've put in 45 hours this week. That's enough. That's enough. It'll still be there for another 40 hours the next week.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to be consumed of work. That's something that Jose and I were talking about yesterday. It was that we were talking about how, like, when he first started, there were days where he would stay up till like 1:00 in the morning, making food, preparing it, and then he would go home, go to sleep on the couch, wake up late, and then have to run and get the food out of the fridge and then go to a farmer's market.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how, like, when you first start, that people don't see that. People don't see what work went into what the final product was.
Mm-hmm.
They just see the final product and they're like, wow, he's killing it. Now he has a storefront. Like, he's just...
Yeah, and you get a little bit of that jealousy. Oh, yeah. Jose is doing so awesome. Okay, well, did you see the behind the scenes?
Right.
Do you know
see all the
how
hard
long
work
it took Jose to make Tantai a real thing? How long did it take to get from conception to the incubator kitchen to having a food truck to now getting that brick and mortar? You know, how much blood, sweat, and tears went into that, my friend, because that was all behind the scenes. Yeah. And he kept that game face on the whole time so that you didn't see that stress, and you didn't see if it got him down sometimes or anything. I also think he has a really great team supporting him as well. And, you know, this region has changed so much since 2020. Like, we saw a lot of places die, but we saw a lot of places rise up. And we saw a lot of people come out of the woodwork that were dedicated to keeping what was here, and to bring in new stuff. I mean, like Lansing 501, holy heck, those dudes have done so much. Chaz Carrillo, I mean, just the Lansing Chamber on their own.
They do the events, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they do so many events. I mean, and then you've got people like Our Space 517 that put on that amazing Juneteenth program and festival this year. Like,
they did the Hispanic Heritage, too.
Yep. Like, that's here in Lansing. That we didn't go to Detroit. That's not up in Grand Rapids. That happened right here in the capital city where it should have been happening this whole time. And it makes me so happy to see that. I mean, I left here when I was 8, grew up in Kentucky, graduated high school there, came back and still had so much pride for Michigan. And to just see it get better and better every year makes me so happy. I mean, we got a lot of ways to go, but it's happening, and that's awesome.
So you're originally from Lansing?
Yeah, so I grew up actually 30 minutes outside of Lansing in a little town called Eaton Rapids.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Charlotte's rivalry. That's where I went. Charlotte.
Chartucky. Where I should feel right at home there then.
You should.
No, yeah, I grew up in Eaton Rapids with my grandparents and my mom. And then we moved down to Kentucky to be with my dad and my other siblings. I'm the oldest of 9 kids between my parents. So my mom wanted me to be around my siblings and have that experience. And she also wanted kind of just that slower going Southern experience for high school and school. She didn't want me stressed out. She didn't want me potentially in, you know, a Lansing public school. At that time, when I was younger, things were a little testy and she just wasn't, you know, aware. My mom grew up in inner city Detroit. So she was thinking about her experiences when she was a kid in the 80s in Detroit and just did not want that for me. Yeah. And we moved to Kentucky, and I came back up here when I graduated high school. I literally left the night I graduated. I told everybody goodbye, and I was here the next day in Michigan. I mean, people were texting me like, "Where are you at? Such and such is having a party." I'm like, "I'm 8 hours away." I just came here and kind of just started new.
And what was that like?
Scary.
I mean, because you were on your own at that point, right?
I was actually with my mom. So my grandma passed away in 2014, the year I graduated high school, and left us a house. And it was like, do I join my mom, go up here to Michigan and kind of restart from scratch? Or do I do the original college plan, go into debt, and figure it out on my own? And I said, nah. And I saw LCC had just won like an accreditation for being one of the top community colleges, and I applied. I got in. Thank gosh. Got in, and I just left. I said, I'm just going to start new. I'm just going to start fresh. I'm going to come back here. It's my roots. I'm going to figure it out. First year was a little lonely. I mean, I had my mom and my brother, but I was a little lonely. I had to make friends again and kind of figure out what it is I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. And then once I started going, I have not stopped. Was able to leave my mom in a great house. I live in an amazing house here in downtown. I love it. I wouldn't have changed any of my plans.
That's interesting that you could be gone for so long and then come back and then now be so involved in a community.
And I do that, I think, in every community I'm in. Because when I was in Kentucky, I was so heavily involved in my community. I mean, I was doing the local newspaper. I was on local TV stations. I was helping out at the radio station. I was doing, we did different volunteer programs to help with homeless. And, people, a lot of people down there are affected by drugs. And that's really sad. And so working and making sure kids have a Thanksgiving dinner or a Christmas dinner, working with churches. I did a lot of kind of like first day of school things where people could come get a haircut, get clothes. I did that with my local church for a long time down there. I was in ROTC in high school, so I did a lot of stuff with the Kentucky National Guard during high school. That was pretty humbling and interesting to be a part of.
You didn't want to join the military?
I thought about it. I definitely did. They wanted me to.
I bet they did.
Marines, hoo-ha, they wanted me. But no, and when I came here, I just immediately got myself involved in the community. My mom had known Mike Carl, so I immediately got involved with Mike Carl in college. I did a lot of homeless walks where we gave tampons out to women and pads. That was a humbling experience. And just to see how Mike never gave up. He has been thrown so many curveballs, and he continues to give to the community, whether it's Cardboard Prophets, Homeless Angels, Mike Carl himself. He is out there. And that to me just showed, I'm going to keep doing it too. It doesn't matter. Okay, that program's done. That one's gone away. I don't like that person. All right, how else can I help? What can I do to help? Where can I be to help?
Right.
So I just kept engaging myself. And of course, now that I'm a marketing manager, I have a little bit more pull. I definitely see that. People will give me a second glance with the manager title attached. So I feel like I can help and do more in the community. I mean, that's what I'm doing with my big Halloween event. I'm just trying to help folks promote themselves and get out there. It's not about extend your reach. It'll be nice to get something, but I'm just here to help others.
I think that's so important for a lot of people, is to get involved in the communities that they live in and that they're a part of. Because then you have a sense of belonging at that point. Mm-hmm. When you are part of a community and you don't live, or you're not active in the community, you don't do anything, you kind of, I don't know, it's it's lonely in a sense, I guess. It's
very ostracizing. You can have this beautiful, amazing community around you. Imagine moving to Lansing and having no social media and not being able to be a part of the 517 group or Lansing Foodies or something like that. And you don't know how to reach out and ask, who's a good doctor? Where do you like to take your kids to go swimming? Who's got the best olive burger?
Right.
You can't find those things without being connected to your community.
Right.
Yeah, maybe you can go on a Google search and hunt on your own, but is that as fun? Is that as good feeling? Did you make a friend while you did that?
You got to put work in too.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Yeah. If I Google best olive burger in Lansing, how many search results are going to come up?
Right.
And who's the reputable source?
Right.
Whereas if I make a post, somebody's going to be like, well, I like Kewpie's olive burger because the history behind it.
They are one of the best.
They are. Yeah. Shout out Kewpie's.
Autumn is awesome.
Just things like that the sense of community, you're really missing out if you don't just look for it. And it doesn't have to be a Facebook group. Mm-hmm. It can be a church. It can be a job. It can be a weekly meetup that you go to.
That's that's one thing I was going to get at, was if you work for a company or something and you have a union, then you should get involved with that union. Mm-hmm. I have a union and I'm not involved in it, but I don't feel like I need to be.
Is it IATSE?
It's not. Okay. It's the UAW.
Oh, the UAW. Yeah. Wow, gosh, they're real important right now.
We're on strike right now.
Yeah, they need all the help they can get.
Actually, they just announced today that they walked out Arlington.
I did see that.
Which is LinkedIn. General Motors' largest assembly plant.
That is insane.
It's 5,600 employees, and it's one of their most high profit plants.
But they've been negotiating since November of 22 in Arlington. I thought I saw.
No, I mean the international agreement was up September 14th or 13th, something like that.
Okay.
And so they've been negotiating before that. And that's for everybody. So
It's crazy. I saw Louisville had walked out, and I watched that. Some of the videos of people walking out, and I was like,
was it like a CCA plant or something?
Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie and pretend like I know. But I did see them walking out, and in Kentucky, it is sad to see when that happens, because all those folks are out of work and how it affects their family. And Kentucky is poor. We're not gonna play on it. A lot of our southern states are poor and they're rural. So when a place like Louisville, everybody kind of works in a big spot. I mean, Louisville's one of the bigger cities, but for example, where I grew up, you could work at the truss building place where you built house truss, the candle factory, or the chicken plant. Those were your choices. So if the chicken plant striked, that's thousands of folks without work.
Right.
And it affects the community. And while they are fighting for themselves, and they 100% deserve that, I am no way against strikes. I do see how it affects the community, and it's like, gosh, what can I do to help besides continue to educate folks and get that out there about why you are on strike? And that's something a podcast can do.
I think that's the important thing about this strike with the UAW is that's one of the things that they're trying to strike. That's one of the things they're striking over is job security. The ability for a company to come into a city, like a small town like that, where they have a factory that employs couple thousands of people, and they'd be like, we're shutting this down and we're taking it to Mexico. And then now these people don't have a job.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that we're striking over is the fact that we want the right to strike over plant closures, because I mean, that's happened. I think it happened 65 times within the last 10 years where the big three companies have shut down 65 plants, and it just decimates communities.
And that's terrible.
I have a friend who is from Lordstown, Ohio. Small community, but Lordstown, they built the Chevy Cruze. It was one of their bigger factories.
Okay.
Completely shut that factory down, and then those people that work there had to transfer plants. He transferred to our plant, and his family's still in Ohio, like his kids. His kids are like...
Because you can't pick up your whole life and move it.
No,
Not everybody has that ability to just say, okay, I'm moving.
Right.
How can I find that place to live? Can I find a place for my kids to go to a school that I like?
Right.
How far away am I displacing my family? Those are things that everybody has to think about. People just say, I see it a lot on Facebook. Well, just leave. Just go get another job.
I hate that.
Well, if it was that easy, folks, I would have not left Kentucky and came all the way up here. It is not that easy to just say, all right,
But I mean, there's a certain point where you have to hold account. You have to have accountability for businesses, for corporations, and for the employees in the community. I mean, because if they shut down a factory, it's going to decimate the community. People are going to be out of work. But if they go on strike, the impact of that's a lot lower than if they were to shut a place down.
I can definitely agree with that.
But what I was originally getting at was that when you work somewhere or you go to church or something, you should be involved in that community because it gives you a sense of purpose. It gives you a reason to keep going, keep doing the things you're doing. Like I grew up in church, so I was huge in the church. Like I would play in the orchestra. I was in the choir. Kids programs, like I was a leader in the kids programs, and it gives you like a sense of purpose and a belonging, a place of belonging.
I remember looking forward to being a church camp counselor. Like one day I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna be in charge. Like I remember looking forward to that. Like
what kind of church did you go to?
I was raised Southern Baptist.
Oh, okay.
So we ate a lot. That's one thing I will say about Southern Baptist. We love Jesus, and we sure do love to have a buffet after service.
Do you still practice religion?
I am still religious. I have not been to church in quite a bit. Just never found one up here that I really found as a home church. Definitely visited places. My aunt and uncle have a church in downriver Detroit. I go there when I can, but I am still Southern Baptist at heart, and when I go home, I visit my home church. I'm still a member. Years later, they still have me, so that makes me feel good. But cool. Mount Olivet Baptist Church, just a 4-room church.
Wow.
In a little town. I went there. Oh shoot! Since I was 8, I went there from 8 to 18.
Wow, 10 years. Yeah, that's right in the Bible Belt too. There's so many churches down there.
Oh yeah,
many.
The literal Bible Belt. My town was Pentecostal, Baptist, and Catholic. It was split. you knew where people were on Sunday and Saturday sometimes too. But that definitely, growing up in church, it made me want to continue to have that community when I went into the workforce. You know, I saw how well the deacons and the ladies and even the different pastors all spent time together and did things together and had Bible study. And, you know, they did, after Wednesday night church, they would go out to dinner, or maybe they'd go do bingo together. And I was like, gosh, I want to be like that when I'm an adult. I want to have a group that I go out with and network and do things with. I didn't fully know it at that age, but I knew that it's what I wanted to look forward to that. Yeah. And I have that now. You know, I'm in Athena, the women's group. Oh my gosh, so many lovely, accepting women in that group. But also just going to the Lansing Chamber member mixers, that is like my tribe, my group. You know, when I get to be with other young professionals, business people, movers and shakers in the Lansing area, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. Even if I'm just there to just network and have a good Tuesday evening, even if I don't have anything I'm really trying to work with or like seeking out a client, it just feels good. And it's like, yep, I'm with like-minded folks. Yeah. We're all working towards a goal. I like this.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be, you could get into a point where you just feel like you're alone and you're just trying to figure things out on your own. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've felt that way so many times.
Yeah. Having a small business. Yeah. And it's like, you have people that support you and care, and they're like, dude, you're doing great. But it's like, yeah, but I'm the one in the room by myself editing 4 hours of podcast.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, for real. Everybody who comes in here is like, dude, this is awesome. You got an awesome thing going. I'm like, you don't understand.
Yeah. Ooh, I like panicked for an hour before you came here today, making sure this was clean.
For real. For real. It's always an hour before the episode. I'm like setting up, getting ready. And then
the hour after.
The hour after. Yeah, relax. That's why, like, when somebody cancels like an hour beforehand, I'm like,
thanks. You left it down to the wire. I know things come up, but gosh dang. I totally get that though.
Yeah, you have to. You have an in-home studio.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I mean, musicians,
they're the worst.
Oh my gosh, I can't pin you guys down. I'm just gonna blanket that too. Not any genre, just musicians. But metal guys, you know that you need to change your strings before you come in to record, and you don't. And then we take 20 minutes watching you do that, and just please, any metal guys listening, change your strings.
So when somebody comes in and they book the studio, let's say they want to record something.
Yeah.
What is that process like? Do you guys, I mean, obviously you have to set up, get things ready for them, but do you guys produce it for them?
Oh, if they want it. Now, some folks just come in and they've never heard themselves recorded and they just want to hear it. Cool. Let's get you recorded and let's hear it. Some folks come in and, say it's a band. And we have a full band and they're doing vocals and bass, guitar, drums. We're going to get all those recorded, whether that takes one day, multiple days, usually multiple days. We're going to get all that done. And then we're going to say, okay, what's the next step? Are we wanting to mix and master this? Is this, what you're seeing? Do we want to edit? Do we think we want to change some things up? You didn't like how that vibe together? Do you want a really rough mix to kind of hear how it starts and maybe build from this and use this as like a jumping off point of like, okay, here's what we sound at this level. In 2 months' time, we want to be ready to record an album and we want to be better than that. So it's totally up to them. And then from that, if they do decide, yeah, we want you to mix and master it. Okay. Are you releasing this yourself? Or do we want to go on that release process together? Making sure that they have their names labeled properly. Do you have Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, whatever? We need to make sure that DistroKid and some other things have all the right things so that you're connected and you're getting those royalties, and it goes to Maranda Branum. She's the lyricist, so anytime I'm noted as the lyricist, making sure that goes back to me and not Maranda Branum that's spelt just a little bit differently in another place, because that happens. And just doing all of that, it's totally your journey, and I am just here, and Julian, we are just here to help you get along on it.
So you guys help guide people essentially through that process.
Mm-hmm. We get a lot of new guys. Yeah. So it's new people, new to the music industry, or they've been jam band session for years, and now they are ready to take that next step. Or they've got money and they're like, I have money in my pocket. I've wanted to do this for years. I am just ready to try it and do it. And they might be a one-off, but they tried it and it's an experience for them, and I'm happy to facilitate.
Have you guys had anybody who came through and was extremely successful?
There's definitely some metal bands that have some success. One of them being Julian's own band. So Bog Wraith is his own band. They actually did some mini tours outside of Michigan. So, you know, that's bigger.
Yeah.
When you get into surrounding states, you're doing good. They have a lot of album sales. They have a lot of listens and streams, and they still do really good. They sell a lot of merch still. And I think that's really cool. We have some folks that gained a lot of traction, did one thing, never went anywhere with it. And that kind of sucks. We had some indie artists that we recorded that really had some potential, and I was super bummed that they didn't want to continue. And I mean, some of it was like relationships or, you know, we didn't really want to be a part of that. Some folks move. And, you know, we do have some people that they do move and they send us their stuff from a different studio. And they're in California and they record in somebody's studio and then send it to Julianne, and they're like, hey, I still really appreciate you. And they maybe don't make it big per se, but they've got followers, you know, and they're getting steady listens, you know, and they're doing good on their own standards and they're happy.
That's got to be one of the hardest industries to break through, right?
Oh my gosh.
The music industry.
Yeah. And getting somebody to be consistent. You know, I see it in my own job. People are like, social media, isn't that easy?
Well, it changes so much, too.
It does. It changes, and you have to be an active participant in social media for it to work for you. The days of buying followers and doing that, they're done.
Yeah.
They're done. People don't like generic comments or engagement pods where you can tell the same like 7 people comment on each other's stuff and they're only supporting each other.
Right.
Those things don't work anymore. Yeah. And so with musicians, like, you have to engage in order to get people to listen. And you need
content.
Yes. And a lot of it is repetitive content. If you're releasing a single, I want to see 17 TikToks of that same bit from that single of like your hook. I want to hear that and see that 17 times before the single ever drops.
Yeah.
Because now I'm addicted to that and I want to know the rest of the song. I'm in it. I should be seeing cut up music videos put into 15-second periods and used the most. Memes. Meme culture. It is real. Use it to your advantage. I mean, obviously, like some businesses, like extend your reach. We wouldn't make memes. That's not relevant to us. But
we're way too good for that. I'm just kidding.
But could you make a meme?
Yeah,
could you make
absolutely.
a meme and make that relevant to your podcasting and use that? Yes. And so just seeing that marketing and being like, if you just put in a penny more, sir, a penny more, you could go somewhere.
My friend Kaylee, she owns Apple Blossom Kombucha in Frandor.
Love them.
Do you know Kaylee?
I don't know Kaylee personally, but I love the kombucha.
You should meet Kaylee. I think you like her. Your personalities would go together well. But she always does these Instagram reels. You gotta check it out because I wish I could pull it up.
Yeah, using the trending things, like the trending sounds and the templates and things like that.
That's what she does.
Yeah.
She does the voice, like she just adds whatever sound into it, and then she just
does a little diddle.
Yeah,
and
it does a little thing, and it works. And you know, some people are like, that's easy. No, it's not.
It's not. You've actually got to put in some effort and some research. And then again, once you post that content, you have to engage with it.
Yeah.
You've got to share it, and you've got to encourage your friends. I love and I hate those posts that I see go out that it's like, it costs $0 to support your friend.
Oh.
And it's like, yes, but just liking something, I could use a little bit more. You know, like if instead of just liking your friend's post or sharing your friend's post, give them a solid review. Give them a referral. Reach out on the comment and say something that you genuinely liked. Like if it's a photographer, comment and say, oh my gosh, every time David takes my photos, he makes me feel so comfortable. I never have to struggle with my poses and my kids are smiling the entire time. Wow, that took me 5 seconds, you know, and that was so much more substantial than just liking my post.
Right.
Just a little bit more.
That's actually a really good point. Because, I mean, I see those posts all the time. And usually it's like your smaller business owners who are struggling that post them.
Yep.
And, you know, like everybody wants to support your business. Everybody generally. People want to show that they're supportive, so it's easy to just throw a like on. And it does take a little bit more work to sit down and like type a little comment or whatever, but that's so much, like you said, it's so much more beneficial than
than just like,
yeah.
Well, anybody can like something. I can like something on accident when I'm scrolling.
Yeah.
But adding a little bit of zazz, using a $5 word,
Yep.
you know, just takes it that little bit farther.
word.
It just takes it that little bit further. You know, if you're not seeing any engagement, do a giveaway. Play a game on your socials. Do something that breaks the algorithm. You know, use it to your advantage. Have them jump around on your social medias. You know, like me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and screenshot and post in the comments. And first person to do all three, you know, I'll give you a plant or something. You know, like something that's relevant to your business.
Right.
I see those things and I think they would work so good. It's just somebody's like, oh, but I have to do all of that. Yes. But oh my gosh, the results.
Right.
Don't just spend $25 and boost a Facebook ad. Look at that ad and think about it. If I saw this randomly on my feed, would it really get me to do something, or is it just a sponsored content post? You know, what action does this drive for me?
Is that something you do with Extend Your Reach? Do you create those kind of posts and stuff?
I do. So I run Extend Your Reach's social media, and then I do it for some of our clients as well. Not all of our clients are on social media. We do handle a lot of state and federal contracts, so they're not really on socials. But some of our smaller folks, you know, like mom and pop businesses and things like that, I do their posts, and I do things like that, engage, or, you know, I'll put something in their email newsletter, and that will get them back to their social media, which will in turn send them to their website, which in turn it just kind of overlaps.
Right,
and I kind of keep that almost loop going.
How do you manage that? Because that's got to be so hard. I mean, you do so many different businesses.
Yeah. Dedicating time every week, computer reminders, literally like alerts, and just saying like, stop, time to do this for an hour, and making sure that I dedicate, you know, if I'm managing social media for somebody, each person gets an hour per day. So I manage like 4 things right now. So 4 hours of my day, I'm doing that. Do I give Extend Your Reach a little bit more? Yeah, sometimes I'll do 2 hours, especially if I'm getting active engagement at that time and people are commenting back and forth or messaging. I'm going to spend that time and continue doing that. I do it at home. You know, that's like that work-life balance that I was talking about. I've got to have those alerts, those reminders, those notes to just make sure I'm doing things in a timely manner, but not letting it consume me.
How do you manage that? So you're on social media all day.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Do you have your own social media that you?
I do.
Oh my gosh.
And gratefully, Julian manages Marshland Studios socials. I don't do that. He had a brand already when we first started together. He had already started it. So I let him continue that brand and that voice and that identity. But I definitely do help with ideas. But so that takes a lot off my plate. I used to also run a personal Instagram for gardening. Big gardener over here. I had to let that go. It was all the time. I was always on my phone. I was at the point where I thought I needed 2 phones.
Oh.
And I was like, I can't be that person. I like to be fun and energetic, and I'm feeling drained. And I'm feeling like not a happy Care Bear. Like I'm the sad, grouchy rain cloud Care Bear. And I didn't want to be that anymore. And so, yes, I do a lot of social media, but I will also walk away from it, and I will set things up automatically. And, you know, if I'm taking a week vacation from work, I'm taking a week of vacation. So those posts are already locked up and ready to go. Do I miss a little bit of engagement that week? Yes. Do I double back and go when I come back from vacation? Yeah. Sometimes I twist that into the experience as well, you know, in my comments, like, oh, we're late seeing this, but, you know, twist it with a pun or something like that.
Right.
I just don't let it consume me like that. You know, you've got to put that line, and sometimes you do need to just automate it. If you made 6 content posts, load those up on your schedule. Have them loaded up. Hootsuite, Hootsuite, how you ever say it? I never say it right. The bird, the owl will post for you. And I mean, in the age of AI, sometimes you don't even need to write your own captions. You know, let the AI kind of brainstorm for you, change a couple things, add some emojis.
That's what I do.
Yep.
I let AI do everything.
You know, and you can add your personal touches as you need to.
Yep.
But it doesn't need to be all the time consuming. It's still 40 hours a week, but it doesn't have to be 40 mind-numbing hours.
That would be so mind-numbing regardless.
It can be a lot, and like I said, that's why I take that step back. I use my vacation time. I take my sick time when I need it. And sometimes with the way the world goes, there is a lull on social media. You don't need to be posting every day.
Yeah.
Engage weekly, but you don't have to be on there every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not relevant for you. That's another thing I like to remind customers. They'll be like, well, I saw such and such did this. All right. I see why you like that. But do you think that's relevant for your business? Let me talk you out of that, because I don't think that's actually a good use of your time and your money. I'm not here to nickel and dime anybody.
Yeah.
I hate doing that. I see so many different businesses, like not even in Lansing, just in the world. And you can tell they're managed by somebody that is getting that hourly. They are getting it. And it's just like, was that relevant for you? Did you need to join in on that trend? Like the Barbie trend.
Barbie trend.
You know, you saw everybody and this Barbie is a professional and this Barbie likes to do this. Yeah. And everybody had to have something Barbie. Did that fit your brand though? Was that good for your brand identity? Was that good for your reputation? Did it help build trust?
Right.
Or was it just funny?
Right.
Did you actually gain any attention? Did people utilize your services because you made a Barbie post?
Right.
Or did you only get a lot of attention on the Barbie post because it's trending and that didn't actually convert into any leads for you?
Right.
You know, that was something. That was something I said. Everybody was like, why didn't you make a Barbie post for Extend Your Reach? This Barbie is professional. She doesn't need to do that.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. So we're almost an hour in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, time flies on the podcast.
It really does. Holy crap.
And the thing is too, once you get an hour in, that's when you start getting warmed up. You're like, oh, okay, now I feel like I could go longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could definitely go. I could keep talking. I could talk about my event. I could just keep going.
You should talk about the event.
The event is this Friday, October 27th. It is the B2-Boo Blitz. And it is a business mixer, much like the Lansing Chamber mixers, mixed with trunk or treat vendors and food trucks. The number one complaint I hear at any Lansing event, like Lansing 501, LRCC, Athena, I can't come. I got my kids. I got to go. I got to get my kids. I can only stay. I got to go get my kids. You know, or I want to go see such and such.
Are you sure that's actual people having to go get their kids, or is it a reason to leave?
Well, some people might be using that as an excuse, and I shame you for using your children. No, I'm kidding. But no, you know, that's what I hear. And so I was like, what can I do in the Lansing area that will involve people being able to showcase their families? Because we got to admit, if you have kids, you're proud of them. I'm proud of my nieces and nephews. You know, you're proud of them and you want to show it off. And also you want to use that Halloween costume as much as possible because that boy cost $60 and you're going to be it for 2 years. So I just wanted to do that. And holy crap, the response has been insane.
Really?
I pitched this idea 3 different times in my life. 3 different times I tried to pitch this to a business. And they were like, nobody will do that. That's going to cost thousands of dollars. Nobody would want that. I have over 25 partners and vendors. It cost me $219 so far.
Wow.
I did not charge anybody for booth or setup fees because I want them to promote themselves and get as much out of this as they want to. And I have over 160 guests.
Wow.
And I am just floored. And really what took to get it going off the ground, finally, this 3rd time's the charm when I pitch it. They were like, you know, my upper management, well, who are you going to get to participate? And I said, I've got people. And they said, well, who? And I said, don't you worry. And I reached out to the people that supported me when I freelanced and supported me when I first moved up to Michigan and I didn't have anybody. And I reached out to those folks and offered them the space. And once they came in, other people were like, oh, so Miss Crystal's food truck is going to be there? Yeah. Oh, well, I've worked with her at XYZ. Oh, she's great. Oh, well, what can I do? How do I join? You know, or, oh, Lost in the Dark podcast is going to be there. Gosh, he's such a nice guy. I love listening to him. I'm going to have to come and say hi to him in person.
Who is that?
That is Burton Bargerstock. He is amazing. He's been doing Lost in the Dark for like 5 years.
Wow.
absolutely amazing. He actually sponsored Toledo Death Fest, which was a big death metal festival.
Cool.
Really, really awesome guy, genuine, and wants the musicians to get the most out of it. Love you.
That's cool.
But yeah, I reached out to these people that supported me when I was, essentially I'm a nobody.
Right.
And they were like, well, now you're a somebody and you're doing a big event and this is going to be good for me. And that just feels awesome.
That is awesome. So where is the event at?
So it's at Extend Your Reach. So
Okay.
just down the road off Aurelius. It's off Jolly and Aurelius.
Okay.
Extend Your Reach is right in the cul-de-sac where Soccer Zone is.
Oh,
So a lot of folks just kind of drive right past us and go to Soccer Zone because, you're at the end of the dead end.
So it's on the right-hand side of Aurelius?
Oh, gosh.
Like if you're going towards there from here.
Yeah, it's on the right.
It's like a strip?
Yeah, and that little Contact Drive is a little cul-de-sac dead end.
Okay, yeah.
And at the end of it is Soccer Zone. You've got Sky Mint growing facility right here.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan Fashion Proto. One of the union spots is right back there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're on the end of a dead end, which is really great for the event because no cross traffic.
Right.
Your kids will be safe.
Is it inside or outside?
Outside.
Outside.
And gosh, what a blessing this week has been with the weather. I'm so excited.
I don't think tomorrow's going to be so nice, but
Friday's looking good.
that's all that matters right now.
Yeah, but it's it's a business mixer with a trunk or treat, and just giving professionals a chance to kind of shake it off a little bit.
So what's the purpose of the event?
Literally just to network and connect, just like at LRCC member mixers, where it's an opportunity for people to get together once a month and network and meet with other professionals. Obviously, it's showcasing the business that it's being held at this month. Kind of the same idea we had. Let's showcase Extend Your Reach, but we're not just going to pat our own selves on the back and be all about us.
Right.
We're going to support the folks that have helped us be around for over 40 years.
Right.
So some of the folks are our vendors. Some of them are our actual clients.
Wow.
And then some of them are just folks here in the Lansing area, like I said, that I've known or that are smaller and I want to help out. I've got a couple small businesses that will be there that are really just getting their feet off the ground and getting things started.
That's cool.
So I wanted them to be able to be there. Kona Ice will be there.
Cool. Kids will love that.
Yeah, they scream. I scream, you scream for Kona Ice. We don't have that in Kentucky. Like, I never saw a Kona Ice truck. I didn't know what that was. And people were just like, what? You don't know what Kona Ice is? I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't know what shaved ice was.
Yeah. And Guac and Roll will be there.
I've never heard of that.
World's best guacamole.
Really?
So they say.
Is it a restaurant? Like what is?
He's a booth at the Allen Street Farmers Market.
Oh, okay.
So he does guacamole and salsa. It's pretty good.
I will have to check that out. I'm a junkie for guacamole.
I'm a big fan.
That kind of rhymed.
But so yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I literally just want to help others. I tell people a lot of time the reason I got into marketing is because I love to do for others. I just love to do, whether that be design, events, promoting, education, whatever it is. I just love to do for others.
Well, and I think it speaks true too, because as soon as you came in here and I was talking to you, you were throwing ideas around. Like you're just genuinely trying to be helpful.
Yeah, for free.
Yeah, for free.
For free.
And I could tell that that's the kind of person you are.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I definitely try to be kind. So many people have been kind to me. I didn't have the best life. Being one of 9 kids, there's a lot going on.
I think you had reached out and you wanted to talk about that too.
Originally,
and
yeah.
we didn't even talk about it.
You know what? That's okay. My mom is an amazing woman. She raised me as a single mom. She went through a lot of crap being raised in inner city Detroit when she was younger. A string of random crappy dudes in her life and my life. But my mom never let me get that. She never let that made me be less than. And she constantly reminded me, like, don't look at what I'm doing. Look at what you can be. Look at what you can do. Like, you are going to graduate high school. You are going to be the only one in the family to do that. You're going to be the only person in our family to go to college. You beat teen pregnancy. Not a lot of women in my family can say that. You are what I always wanted to be. And my mom never let me stop. And there were definitely points where I wanted to give up. And my mom was like, no. So I give a lot of credit to my mom. And she'll be at the event supporting me. So
awesome.
If you see a slightly older, more tattooed woman, that is my mother. We look identical. But yeah, I got to give all props to my mom. If it wasn't for her, I would not be wanting to do things like podcasts and be as kind and genuine as I am, because there were definitely roadblocks that could have made me a different person. And I took, the path less traveled by.
Well, I think that's the most important thing about like this podcast. And that's why this podcast was formed, was to highlight people like yourself, like me, like other people that have been on the podcast, that have gone through these tragic situations, that have had a shitty life, that have risen above it and not let their circumstances define who they are, but rather they are successful just despite their circumstances.
Yeah.
And that is so important, because so many people can allow their circumstances to define who they are. They allow, and they a lot of times feel alone. And so then they just feel like it's easier to follow the path less traveled, or with the least resistance. And it's easy to do that.
Yeah.
But it's not easy to choose the other path and go the way that is more work, more discipline.
To just try. I say that to my siblings all the time. I'm the oldest. They look to me the most. And they'll say, what do? I don't know what to do. Try. Just try.
Just put some effort in.
Think about, what is the solution? Are there multiple solutions? How do you get to each one of them? Now try. Just try it. Yeah. Don't cry. I mean, we can cry during it, but don't just sit there and cry. Try. Yeah. Just try.
Don't give up.
They look at me and they're like, I can't believe you left. I can't believe you did this. I can't believe it. Believe it. Believe it, babe, because I did it. And I'm here and I'm still rocking. And sometimes
Literally.
I can't, sometimes I can't get that $5 McDonald's cheeseburger. Sometimes I can't afford that. Sometimes I can't afford the Starbucks coffee I want, but I still have a home. I fed my cats and I'm happy. And I can still sit down and relax and play a video game or have a jam session and still feel secure and good with the choices I made because I tried. And my mom always said, can't isn't a word. Mm-hmm. You can. I don't want to hear can't. Yep. So she just pushed me. And
that is such an important thing too, is to not to give up. That's the thing. Like, giving up has never been a thing for me. When somebody said you can't do something, it's always been a way for me to just look at them like how you just looked at me and be like, watch me.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
I will do it.
Yep.
I might not be good at it. I will learn how to do it, and I will do it, and I won't give up.
Yeah. Like, will this B2B? Will this be the best Halloween event I've ever done? No.
But it would get better.
It's going to get better. And this is the first annual. Yeah, that's right. I put that in the name. First annual B2-Boo. Because I anticipate there being a second and a third and a fourth. And even if I leave Extend Your Reach, somebody's going to continue my legacy. And I want that. I want them to be proud of that and be like, yeah, we're Extend Your Reach. We put on that B2-Boo Blitz every year. Like, that's how I am. And I'm goofy and fun about it because that's how I get through life. I always say, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. That's my biggest thing. I say it at work to everybody. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. Just you don't laugh, you'll cry. So try, laugh, no cry.
Yeah. Laughing is it heals. It can heal, and it can get you through a lot of situations.
When I'm really angry, sometimes I look in the mirror and try to laugh without smiling. Makes you smile.
It's true.
I mean, if you just try, like right now, like I'll have to be serious one minute, like and then you immediately start to laugh, because it makes you laugh. I mean, especially if you're looking at yourself, you looked at me and immediately laughed because I'm trying to have this monotone face on. So yeah, do that. If you feel like you can't try, well, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So make yourself laugh and then try.
With all your experiences in life, I mean, I don't know what your life story is. I don't know the things that you've gone through, but we got to wrap this up soon. Yeah. So, but for the people that are listening, maybe for your siblings, for anybody that is going through the situations maybe you've gone through, what would you have to say to them?
Whoever hurt you is not you, and that doesn't make you, and that is not a part of your personality. That is a part of your history, but it does not make you, and they are not you, and they cannot control you. And if it's multiple people, the same thing applies. If it's a whole entity, again, same thing applies. You are you. And at the end of the day, you go to sleep and you're you with your thoughts and your likes and your loves and your dislikes and all of it. And that is what makes up you. Not your history, not what's going to happen in the future. You. So don't let that be who you become. Don't let all these things become you, because you have other things that build you up. And those are your likes and your dislikes. And you choose to wear a certain color every day because that's what you like. And if somebody assaults you in blue, don't let that never be your favorite color anymore. Take that back. It's not you. Be you. And that's what I got.
Well, thanks, Miranda. This was fun. I hope to do it again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.